Yo, welcome my people and welcome back. And in today's tutorial I'm going to be making a one shot from scratch. Now I'm going to be showing you tips and tricks and how the way I process my one shots. So let's get straight into it. To create this one shot from scratch, I'll be using the VST Omnisphere. Now you can use any VST that you like. Serum is really good, Vital, Pigments. There's a lot of different plugins out there that are very good for sound design, but for me personally I just found that Omnisphere works really well and I can get good results consistently. So to start with, I'm going to choose a waveform. Now to do that in Omnisphere, when you first open it up, it opens up with a default patch, and this is the default sound. Now to choose your waveform, you come over to these sections here where it says A, B, C and D, and we're going to start with section A, and then this window pops up and we want to go into the oscillator. And when you go into the oscillator, you've got two different options to choose sounds from. So you've got sample and you've got synth, and we're going to start with synth. So I'm going to click on this little window here where we've got the source square bright waveform, and then this window pops up with all the different options that we've got to select from. So I'm going to go into classic waveforms and I'll go to sub oscillator, and I'll try this first one here. This sounds like it's got potential, so I'm just going to start with this. The way I like my one shots are, I like them to have texture and I like them to have movement. And to introduce those textures and those movements, it's all about modulation. And the first option I'm going to start with is this shape slider right here. Now what this shape slider does, as you move this slider, it moves through the waveform, creating unique and interesting tones. So have a listen as I move the waveform. Now I like what I've got there so far, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to modulate it now. So to do that, within Omnisphere, I'm going to right click on the slider and then come down to modulate. Then I'm going to go to modulate with LFO, and then this modulation routing window pops up. Now I'll press the note and now you're going to be able to hear the modulation happening with the LFO. So I want to speed that up, so I'm going to come down to here where it says rate, which controls the speed of the LFO. I'm going to move the slider up a bit higher. I'm going to slow the rate down. Next I'm going to move on to the Symmetry Slider. Now what this does, it adds tone and colour. So as I play the note, have a listen to how it's adding that tone and colour. So I'm going to modulate this symmetry knob. So once again, I'm going to right click on it, go to modulate, modulate with LFO. And then if you want the actual LFO to be more subtle and not so prominent, what you do is you come over to the source slider here. Watch this blue signal right here as it gets shorter as I go to the left on the LFO source. Now I'm happy with that. I do want to add just a bit more to it, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to add some frequency modulation. And to do that with Omnisphere, come over to this section here where it says FM, and then this oscillator zoom page pops up. Now what frequency modulation does is it modulates the pitch. So I'm going to play around with the depth slider and the frequency slider and see what I can find. Yeah, I'm feeling that, and already you can hear texture, you can hear movement. I do want to work on it just a bit more though. This FM sync slider sounds really interesting. Now if I just turn it up a little bit, now have a listen. It's like it's almost adding like that vibrato sort of texture. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. by modulating it. So right click on it, go to modulate, modulate with LFO. I'm going to turn the source down because I don't want the LFO modulation to be so aggressive. I want it to be subtle. So now I'm going to try the granular section. Let's turn up the pitch grains knob to add more grains. Let's turn up the intensity to enhance that. Let's turn up the detuning. Yeah, I'm feeling that. So I'm happy with what I've got so far. It's got movement, it's got texture, and it's got unique tones and character. The next thing I want to do is add a filter. So I'm going to come out of the oscillator zoom page, turn on the filter section. Now the reason why I'm turning on this filter section is because I want to filter out some of those higher frequencies. Yeah. So if I bypass the filter and then play the same chords, have a listen. You can hear how those higher frequencies are really like intense. But when I turn the filter on, now have a listen. It's more subtle. And listen to that texture, listen to that movement, and that's all from modulating with the LFO. All this is creating this algorithm of movement, keeping my one shots interesting and unique. So I'm happy with what I've got so far. The next thing I want to do is I want to add another layer, and this layer I want it to be a sample. So I'm going to come over to this section here, the B section, or the B layer I should say. Choose the sample option. Click on the empty space, then this window pops up. Now we've got all these different options to pick from. So from the get-go, I'm thinking to add a synthesizer layer or a texture layer. I think I'll start with synthesizers and see what I can find. Just found this sound called Aura. So I'm going to come out of this window. I'm going to turn layer A off and have a listen to this Aura synth that I've just found. And now when I play them both together, so let's turn layer A back on. This is what they both sound like together now. What I'm hearing there is potential. I feel I should add a filter to filter out some of those higher frequencies. I'm doing it to try and match the tones. I want the tones to kind of be in the same space. Yeah, I like that. That's it. I'm happy with what I've got so far. I just feel it just needs some processing now. When I say processing, I mean adding some effects. I'll start with Portal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flick through some of these Portal presets and see which ones I like. Now the sound bank that I'm using for Portal is called Accent Essentials, and it's volume 2. I also have volume 1 as well. If you want to use these sound banks, the link will be in the description box below, so go and check those out. And this is the first preset, and this is what it sounds like. Yeah, I like that. I really like that. I'm happy with that. And to finish this one shot off, I'm just going to add some chorus. I'm going to use this VST called Valhalla Ubermod. So I'm going to play with the Overmod knob. Yeah, that sounds nice. I'm going to turn the feedback up by about 1 or 2% because I don't want it to be aggressive. I just want to add like a subtle chorus texture. Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling that. And I'm really happy with what I've got so far. I don't feel like I need to add anything else because I feel like this one shot has got everything that I'm looking for. It's got texture, unique tones, it's got character, and it's got movement. And this is all done through modulation using LFOs and also adding effects. So by adding the portal effect and then adding the chorus texture VST, it's all added this algorithm of movement and giving this one shot its own unique sound. What I would do now is I would export this one shot. So as you can see, I've set the cycle range to 8 bars as I feel that's long enough for a one shot. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bounce it down to audio. Now it's bounced down to an audio file. I'm going to drag it back into this project as a one shot now. Drag the one shot in. And there you go. Now we have our one shot. Now I've got this one shot, I'm just going to lay down a quick melody. Now here's the melody that I've created with this one shot. It's just a short 4-bar melody. This is what it sounds like. And just before I finish, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some halftime just to hear what sort of bounce it gives. And then I'm going to add one more VST, Cymatics Illusions. Yeah. Now I've just taken you through my process on how the way I create one shots, and the key areas I focused on were adding modulation, so creating movement through my one shot, so my one shots aren't just static, there's always movement going on, keeping my sounds interesting and unique. And then secondly, adding layers to that one shot, so you're adding more character to your one shots. And lastly, adding texture. So all these things and all these key areas that I'm focusing on, this is how you create unique and interesting one shots, and you're able to create your own sound. Now with all that being said, I hoped that you all enjoyed this tutorial, but more importantly, I hope that you've learned something. And if you've got any questions, just leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. And until next time, peace out.